Hey everybody, welcome back. I just realized I closed Google Chrome because it was going so slow. I realized I gotta open it back up to do the dang old randomizer. Would you look at this? Ooh, Tainted Blue Baby, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, that's Tainted Blue Baby to Real Blue Baby, which is somewhat annoying character that I'm, trying to Doctor Strangelove. What does that mean? I'm trying to stop worrying and learn how to love Tainted Blue Baby. Is it going well so far? I don't know, because I only, the way that the randomizer works, both for better and for worse, is that the characters that you play as, you probably are not going to play as them again for, like, at least... Look, I understand randomness. I'm just doing, like, a back-of-the-napkin calculation. On average, on a large enough sample size, the duration between playing as two characters will equal the amount of characters in the game. Or rather, 1 over the amount of characters in the game. There's like 40 characters in the game now, so you can think of it roughly as playing as, every character once per month or something like that, which is honestly amazing. The fact that we now... I mean, here's the thing. We do be living in a society. That much is known. But the fact that... I forgot how to play this game. 1 second. I think I'm going to blow up. Yep. Hey, still, half a spirit hard gained. Should have done it in an inverted order. But the fact that you can play as a different character, like, every day for more than a month is kind of absurd. In the best way I could possibly imagine. And only a few of those characters are devoid of merit. I'm not even just trying to use that as a means to have a laugh. I'm being genuine. Only a couple of those characters are, like, I think I took... one of the characters, I can't remember which one. I think I took Tainted Eden out of the random rotation just because, like, they just make me upset. But everybody else, relatively positive on them. Feeling an Iggy Pop style lust for life. He says that. He says that, okay? If you don't know, then you don't know. That's the corollary to the Notorious B.I.G.'s Juicy. If we accept, as the listener, that if you don't know, now you know, then if you earlier knew, you don't know now, and if ergo, have you ever had a dream that you could want you so bad you could do anything? Have you ever, sorry, it's a Tuesday. Which, I must point out, is not the worst day, according to Notorious B.I.G. This day was the worst day, or these days were the worst days, according to Notorious B.I.G. on his 1993 smash hit, Juicy. Beep beep. What are birthdays? Michael Richards, Alex, Mayim Bialik, LeVar Burton, who knows even, at this point. Who's the host of Jeopardy? Nobody? Kevin Spacey? I can't follow it, man. It just keeps going. Mind you, I haven't watched an episode of Jeopardy in a while, but it's not necessarily just out of protest. It's I find myself watching The Baby between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m., which is when Jeopardy comes on, and I love The Baby more than I love Jeopardy. I'm not afraid to say it. I know that's going to be shocking for some people. I feel like The Baby it's bad for her self-esteem to play Jeopardy with me, because I out-answer her probably like 8 or 9 to 1. She, chimes in every now and then. This 1998 band had a smash hit with the song Iris off of the City of Angels soundtrack. She goes, Goo Goo Doll. And I'm like, I knew that one! She just buzzed in before me. She's right, it's the Goo Goo Dolls. But then every once in a while, they're like, this English ruler got shot in the eye by an arrow at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, and I go, bub, 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 that's, you know, King Harold Haradra. And she's like, she's never even heard of him, which is, I'm pretty embarrassed, like, on her behalf. Okay, arguably we should not have done this, but arguably having fun is more fun than not having fun, so that's what we're gonna try here. I hate to just constantly go back to the bit, which is critiquing hip-hop lyrics as if I don't understand that they're, you know, essentially meant to be poetry and not taken so literally. But when Biggie Smalls says birthdays was the worst days, now we're sipping champagne when we're thirsty, not as your doctor, B.I.G., I would discourage you from this. Even though champagne is a relatively low alcohol by volume beverage compared to some others, alcohol serves as a diuretic and a dehydrator. If you are thirsty, that indicates that you are already past the point where your body needs some fluids. You would be well advised to drink some water, or to be honest with you, if you're that dehydrated that you feel the sense of thirst, that might be one of the opportunities in your life where you feel compelled to perhaps consume like a Gatorade or some other like electrolyte-based beverage. Champagne will actually serve to amplify the effect of your thirst. This is now a Neil deGrasse Tyson bit. I was watching the Mighty Ducks cartoon today. Are you telling me that these ducks are supposed to be astronauts? Oh, in episode 75 of season 4 of the Mighty Ducks cartoon, the Ducks, after defeating the pig aliens in a game of ice hockey, let's go, damage and speed, use the event horizon of a black hole as a way to travel back through time and save their team manager Stacy. However, nothing can escape from a black hole, not even light. How could we expect that some hockey-playing ducks could escape from a black hole as well? Doesn't make any sense. I am very smart. The worst part about it is that he actually, like, is very smart. That's what cheeses me off more than anything. Is like whoa. Whoa. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson is so much smarter than I will ever be. I'm going deep on this one, man. I'm yelling timber. I know what that means, probably. But Neil deGrasse Tyson is so much smarter than I will ever be, and he chooses to waste that energy by being very silly. I was gonna say stupid, but it's not necessarily what I mean. He chooses to waste that energy by being a little bit silly on social media. And if there's no hope for Neil, then is there really hope for, like, any of us? Yes? I'm hearing that the answer to the question is yes. Okay, fair enough. The most annoying part about saying stuff like that for me is people will be like, is anyone gonna tell NL that you can be book smart but still be kind of like stupid in other ways? You don't have to tell me that. You know, I was in university for 4 years. I lived with a bunch of engineers. I've seen some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life do absolutely idiotic things. You know, I have lived experience that corroborates that. I'm merely trying to, you know, construct a bit that maybe makes you laugh, maybe it makes you think a little bit, maybe it makes you feel a little bit. We don't need to get into this, hey, your good joke, unfortunately, it only makes coherent sense if you suspend your disbelief. Oh, so you can watch 800 episodes of One Piece, but okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to insult Fluffy D. Luffy again. I forgot the name of the main character. Luffy to something. I can't remember. I'm not trying to insult One Piece. Apparently, it's extremely well regarded. It's probably going to end up in the Library of Congress or something, but. Yeah, Donkey Congress. Oh, hey, oh, I could use, hold on, let me tweet at Bill Maher. Hello, Mr. Maher. I know you like scathing political commentary. Have you ever considered equating Congress to the game of Donkey Kong. So we got a massive speed down, and then also a relatively minor tears down there. That's really, that hurts. That hurts. Oh, Scott, don't say, it hurts, Daddy, when you say that. Name that movie. You probably wouldn't even need me to say a quote. I could ask you to name that movie, like, in advance, and you'd probably be like, it's Austin Powers. That is, I think it's Austin Powers 1. Where, Scott Evil says, I wish I was never created in that test tube. And then Mike Myers, of course, as Dr. Evil, spoilers, says, oh, Scott, don't just say that. It hurts, Daddy, when you say that. Anyway, where this run's not good. It has some good things going on. I haven't hemorrhaged too much HP for dumb reasons. But the loss of our speed and also some tears, that's pretty bad. We got a little bit of tears back via void here. I mean, it's my own fault to an extent for sure. Let's call it 49.99%. Let's go. That was a shot and a half, man. Which again, something you should not take if you're thirsty. But I shouldn't have taken the deals with the devil sight unseen. But it was fun. So there is that. Maybe I'll start shipping. I don't know why I can't say it. Start sipping champagne when I'm thirsty. So honey play me toast like butter plays toast from the Mississippi down to the East Coast. Apparently, screw the West Coast, apparently. Well, you know what? I guess that's in keeping with the beef at the time. I don't know if you're familiar with the beef at the time. I mean, I'm going to be honest. The East Coast, West Coast feud in hip-hop, I wasn't really a part of it. I was like, 5 years old. But I would say, and if you'll forgive the verbiage, I would say it went beyond beef. I mean, if all they had to do was eat a hamburger together, like if Tupac and Biggie could have eaten a hamburger together, and then it would have all been solved, I would say that it would be an impossible burger. I would say that instead of being genuine organic meat, it would be a meat-based, or a plant-based meat alternative. Okay, stop. I'm trying to figure out how to work, other meat-based alternatives in here. I don't know. Can I tell you, it's, I think it's a good time to be a vegetarian. I really think that, I mean, for a bit of a preamble here, let me caffeinate first. For a bit of a preamble, there, see, we're back. Malf and I, Malf is actually, he's meatless right now, too. Malf and I went vegetarian kind of as like a bet in 2010. So I was vegetarian for like, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. It was actually not that hard in 2010. The only reason I stopped is because I went to South Korea, and stop me if you've heard this one before, if you've been around for a bit, but I lived in South Korea, and I was living in a foreign country. I wanted to experience, like, the cuisine for real, but also, when I was doing job interviews, and I was like, I'm vegetarian, is it possible to live there as a vegetarian? And people were like, yeah, we have monks, for one. So, I mean, I didn't live in a monastery, so that I think that I read between the lines on that one. And then also, yeah, you can just eat fish, and rather than explain over and over again that, like, that's not what I consider to be vegetarianism. I always found it kind of like a funny distinction that, like, chickens are animals, of course, everyone agrees with that, but, fish, on the other hand, nobody really knows. More closer to plants, wouldn't you say? It's like mushrooms. Nobody really knows where they fit in the binomial nomenclature. But I especially, I've been cooking more since we got rid of HelloFresh, and I've never been happier. I make an effort to cook, a meatless meal, or even like just have a meatless day a couple of times a week. And without, throwing my wife under the bus, because I do also enjoy the taste of meat. If it were up to me, I would probably be like fully meatless, but it's just at this point I'm unwilling to pay the cost of, you know, cooking one meal for me, one meal for my wife, and then also like a different meal for my wife, and then also her cooking a meal for the baby. Like, it's just at this point we might as well start running like making Mr. Beast burgers or something, because we're like a ghost kitchen. But anyway, I got a lot of respect for you if you were like a North American vegetarian in like the 1980s, because I think that we've come a long way, you know? Beyond, I haven't had the Impossible, which I hear is even better, but Beyond Burgers taste very similar to a real hamburger. I think if you had a chip on your shoulder, you could come up with a lot of reasons that you know, they're different. But if you wanted to believe, you would believe. I definitely think if you didn't tell people they were doing the Pepsi challenge, I think a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, this is an interesting burger. When I originally became a vegetarian for temporarily, there were vegetarian options on restaurant menus, but it was usually like there's one thing for vegetarians, unless you went to a special place. And it was usually like, hey, it's our classic hamburger, but instead of an all-beef patty, we just kind of slice the top off a portobello mushroom because we don't really know what to do. And that sucked pretty bad. Or you could get a garden salad. But even then, I had some truly heinous veggie burgers in 2010. Just like you bite into them and it's not like even one continuous or contiguous patty. It's just like a bunch of chopped up mushrooms like kind of thrown together. I don't know, I guess we'll give it a try. Like you would bite into it and the whole patty would just crumble. But even then, at least like I never found myself subjected to like tofurkey or anything like that. I'm thankful I never ended up, because like I feel like vegetarianism, even when I got into it in 2010, there was like not that much resistance, socially speaking. Even being, you know, a young man, did I encounter some people who were like, hey, you know, don't worry, for every salad you eat, I'll eat like 2 steaks. Yeah, you encounter some people who for some reason like get... I hate to say it like this, like I don't want to make anybody upset, but for some reason like your dietary choice threatens them. It doesn't just happen with vegetarianism, and I've been on the other side of the coin. You know, one of your friends goes on like a diet or something. Sometimes you find yourself like, oh, you're trying to better yourself? You think you're better than me? Oh, you know, that, oh, counting your calories and eating well? That doesn't work anyway, that's just a fad. But vegetarianism, it triggers that in some people, for sure. Like, if you see, so and I end up talking about, oh no! I talk about this a lot, but like, you know, if you eat, like, a bag full of Doritos on stream, people are like, Doritos, dude, sick, nasty. That's awesome. Like, these are good nasties. That's awesome. I love Doritos, man. That's so cool. But if you, like, take a multivitamin on stream, people are like, you know those are a scam. I don't know why you would take a multivitamin on stream to begin with, but I think for some reason, like, socially, we and I get that one way you could argue this is the idea that, like, oh, well, if someone's trying to do something that's, like, healthy for them, they're inviting that discussion about, like, whether or not it actually is healthy. I don't think that's true. I think, you know, they're probably not inviting it. They probably just want you to be quiet. Well, this is, like, way too risky. As much as I'd love Horror Babylon, this is a tough one to sell. A damage upgrade, I do like it. I do like it. I don't dislike it. Whereas if you're, like, eating something that's bad for you, people are like, you know, obviously it's bad for you. But vegetarianism, definitely, it hits that for some people. But I felt like, you know, for all the complaining I've done about, you know, like 6 idiots in my life at the time who were like, I'm gonna eat a steak every time you eat a piece of lettuce. I'm like, okay, go nuts, buddy. Like, nobody cares. I'm just here to have fun, but I guess screw me. For every, you know, person like that, there was like 90 people who were like, oh, cool, I wish I could do that, or like, I tried that myself, or that's very admirable, or something. And, you know, then you get one person who's like, Oh, you went vegetarian? Don't you know the environmental impact of soybean production? And you're like, well, no, but do you know the environmental impact of, like, you know, beef production? But beef is considered the default, so we don't examine it as much. Anyway, I'm not trying to go down this road too much. But all I'm saying is I think it's even easier now. Like, I feel like a lot of that, you know, culture, it changes over time. In the 2010s, there was still, or like the late 2000s, let's say, because it's really more where it inherited it from, just based on the timing. There's a lot more of, like, you know, adversarial kind of carnivorism. I think now, I think most people are like, okay, fair enough, you know? Maybe I won't do it, but it's a nice thing to do. But man, you see some of the vegetarian products from like the 80s and even the 90s. You had to have like really strong principles to maintain your dietary choice. If you were eating meat alternatives. If you were eating, you know, soups and stews and curries and stuff like that, then by all means. But if you were like, it's Thanksgiving, I absolutely have to have, you know, vegan gravy, I think you're living in the golden, forgive me for the verbiage, you're living in your salad days right now, which is like a 1920s term for when things are at their peak. But also very clever, because it's, I believe that most salads are probably vegetarian friendly, unless you're eating like about, but I mean, how delicious is a taco salad? I mean, come on, but, okay, we're not loving it here. No offense to the McDonald's Corporation. What did I have for dinner last night? Oh, thanks. I had a vegetarian dinner. It was a beautiful salmon fillet with a warm potato salad on the side. We desperately... Well, let's own my own mistake first, okay? We 1,000,000,000% should have not done a deal with the devil, especially not knowing what it was. And we also didn't have to take both of the deals with the devil. Do you just not stop spinning? That's a cool trick, etc., etc. It was fun at the time. It's starting to be less fun as I realize that it's probably going to contribute catastrophically to our own demise. I do need a speed upgrade. As much as I'd like to avoid that, I think it's pretty important. Krampus would be a nice fight right now. Can't really do it. Well, the good news about what we got going on right here is that we're just trying to fight Blue Baby. And if you're just trying to fight Blue Baby, anything can happen there. The other good news is that I think Blue Baby Tainted version is actually like a decent character. It's taken me a while to come to terms with it. Sure. But I don't have a leg to stand on if the argument is that they're like, why are they worse than regular Blue Baby, right? The only reason they're worse is because I consistently blow myself up with the fires, which is not really Tainted Blue Baby's fault. So I think that one of the reasons I find this character annoying is unfair. I'm willing to admit that. Then the reason is just that there's like a high degree of mental overhead to being them. Especially when I just get in this like mindless, like mashing mode. I'm like, where I'm like, now we got explosions everywhere. We're gonna suck up Blood Puppy, by the way. I'm just worried again that I'm gonna, with so much gas on the fight, that I'm gonna accidentally blow myself up. We're gonna suck up Blood Puppy. It's just a little too... It's too funky. It's a little too inconsistent for me right here. I think sucking it up for like a... hopefully a realistic and reasonable stat gain would be nice. But I would like to take the pills. We've gotten so many bad pills that... Let's go. 2 tears ups, man. That's huge. Amnesia is not great, but who cares? And we got a range upgrade. Look, I'll take it. But yeah, we've gotten so many like bad pills that our odds. It's like counting cards, right? Like I can't guarantee I think it's not like I'm, you know, an expert card counter, but again, while in university, I mean, I have a casino story that's very simple, okay? I fancied myself smarter than I actually am. It's called the overconfidence heuristic. I thought, hey, if those idiots from MIT can, you know, break the blackjack algorithm at the casino by counting cards, so can me and my friends. I mean, we're the smartest people I've ever met. So we learned how to count cards, which I was under the impression of at the time that somehow if you just kept enough information in your brain, you knew exactly what was going to come out of the shoe at any given time, which is not the case, you know. Instead, it actually makes a lot more sense. Ooh. We need to kill the champion. We need to be very careful here. The champion is dead, thank God. But basically, the way that counting cards works is, you know, in blackjack, you have a certain amount of open information. You can see, you know your cards, you know one of the cards of every other player at the table, and you know one of the cards of the dealer. You know what? Sure. We kind of have to. And I'm actually of the belief that this could be pretty amazing for us, like, just for... There's also a room with a whole bunch of skulls, like, a little ways back. This probably just gave us the win. That's pretty lucky. Anyway, so in doing that, you can get kind of like a barometer of where the... Yeah, we went there. You can get kind of a barometer of where... of whether a high card is more or less likely to come out than average, essentially. So you adjust your count based on... If you see a lot of high cards, I believe you adjust your count down. And then when you get into, like, the negative numbers, you're like, okay, this is not a good time to hit if you want to see a high card. But maybe if you want to see... It's basically... I mean, okay, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. But the casino's advantage in blackjack, you know, in a slot machine, you can't beat it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but hopefully that's self-evident. You know, you're basically shoving money into an algorithm that's designed to siphon, you know, 3 cents off of every dollar. In the short term, you can get lucky. In the long term, you know, your EV goes to negative. I know you have an anecdote of somebody, they put $10 in the machine and then they won the progressive jackpot and they walked away. The odds of that happening to you are about like the odds of you not just making it to the NBA, but like being the greatest basketball player of all time. Could happen. And I mean, if you are LeBron James and you're watching this, then call me. I don't know why I said it as if it was romantic. Really, I just like, you know, kings meeting kings, you know? I'm kind of like the LeBron James of Isaac, if you ignore all the people who are better at Isaac than I am. Anyway, but blackjack, you know, the casino has something like, again, the specifics I don't know, but I actually think that if you play perfectly, it's something like a 0.5% advantage, which is relatively generous by casino standards. And if you count cards, I think you can actually tilt that like a couple percent in your favor, assuming you never make mistakes, which is enough, you know? It's not a game where you're like, yeah, I'm sure, I haven't seen 21, but I wouldn't be surprised if at the movie they walk into the casino and they're just like, you know, every hand, they're like, I gotcha, 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 gotcha again. Let's go, dude. Save Void for now, because we got potentiality. Question mark, we gotta take it, man. That's an easy binky right there. Hierophant, yeah, pretty sick. I would not consider 2 to be a doubling of 4, but sorry, 3 to be a doubling of 2, but what do I know? Anyway, so we, you know, learned how to count cards. We practiced in our crappy little student housing, and then we went to the casino, and then we just started having some fun. We completely forgot about our counts, and you know, ended up losing, I don't know, maybe like 20 bucks or something like that. And that was a very formative kind of like moment for me in my gambling experience, where I went like, honestly, I don't want to ever do that again. I mean, I felt the loss from like the 20 bucks, but and I had fun with my friends, but I was like, you know, I think maybe it's better to just stay away from it. But, wait, how did I end up talking about counting cards? You guys, you get me talking about all this stuff. I don't even know how we got onto the topic of the discussion. Anyway, it was fun. 21. Vegan breakfast sausages. There's options I don't dislike. Verp. I think it gives us amnesia right now. So I stay away. I break the wrist, I walk away. Healthy donation machine. Honestly, the donation machine is like the best example of like a mortgage in Isaac that I could ever see. Or you know what? Maybe student loans is a better example. I'm not saying student loans are a good thing. Quite the opposite, at least. I mean, okay, here's the thing. In principle, if you can't, like many things in this life, okay, and this is just my own personal opinion. If you are the CEO of like Fannie Mae and you're watching this, I apologize, but the principle of like, if you don't have the financial means to go to school and the political system of your country does not give you, you know, because I know there's, you know, people from Scandinavia, you know, other countries that have strong social programs like watching this, like, well, I am getting my master's degree in chemical engineering and the government's paying me. And I'm like, yeah, that's quit bragging, okay? Over here in the land of the almighty Aller, it's not the way it works right now, unfortunately. However, in principle, if you're unable to, you know, afford to attend school, being able to take out a loan in order to attend, in order to raise, you know, your lifetime earnings by a substantial amount, and then you pay it back when it's a relatively meager proportion of what you expect to be, or at least a doable portion of what you're earning as an adult as a result of the degree that you got, then, like, I think that's a positive thing in principle. In reality, when you start hitting people, I was stunned when I talked to my one of my friends is actually like a genius. You know he's smart because he didn't come to the blackjack thing with us. He got his, I forget what his undergrad's in, some kind of science, but then he went to dental school at NYU. Very, very good American school. Very expensive American school. He is 34 years old. This is where I kind of got disillusioned with the idea of student loans. He's 34 years old. He's a dentist, which is like an extremely high-earning career. And he's still... He also does not spend much. He bought like a $200 Mortal Kombat 2 arcade cabinet 3 years ago. And that's like, you know, his luxury spending. He's having trouble getting out from his student loans because A, his tuition costs were obviously absurd. And then B, the interest rate that's charged on it is something insane, like 9%. Like it's criminal. I always like it's easy, I think, for some people, you know, when they hear a case of a person who maybe they got a degree in something that's not necessarily super in demand as an occupation, and you know you can. It's not really the discussion there, but you can argue to the death whether or not, you know, is college supposed to be something to enrich your mind? Is college something that is supposed to lead to better citizens, or is college exclusively to serve as like a vocational institute in order to train you on how to do a job and fit into society? You know, different people have different thoughts on that. And I have different thoughts on it every day. I got a degree in biology, which is basically like the humanities of the sciences. An undergraduate degree, at least, in biology qualifies you for essentially nothing. But anyway, that notwithstanding, I think it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, art history major complaining about your student loans? Well, maybe you should have just gone to school for programming instead. By the way, programmers, and I'm one of you, kind of. You got to get over the superiority complex. You know as well as I do, you know, you depending on the job that you get, you know, maybe things are still going very well, but it's also a job that's very easy to outsource. People are, you know, don't have to go to California anymore just to get somebody who knows how to interface with a MySQL database. You know, you can get it for pennies on the dollar in another part of the world. You're also in danger of having the same thing happen to you that happened to other aspects of the economy, especially manufacturing. Anyway, this is just my 2 cents. I'm not an economist. Or, no, I'm not. But I'm just saying we're all in this together, kind of. So when that happens, people are like, well, you should have gotten a degree in engineering. But what do you want me to say to my friend who, you know, got an extremely prestigious degree from an extremely prestigious university in a highly employable field where he's been working full-time for like a decade and is still getting buried by student loans. You shouldn't have become a dentist? Is that where we're at now? Or you should have just, you know, become a journeyman electrician? I'm not knocking the trades at all. I'm just saying, like, the argument seems to fall apart there. Anyway, but the donation machine, kind of similar to the ideal, right? We take out a loan on our first floor, repay it back with a little bit of interest in the future, sets up the next generation of Isaac runs. But I'm also not being charged 8% interest. 8% interest might not seem like that much, but, you know, when you think about, like, the rule of 72, you know, it only takes, and we want to take the Polaroid, it only takes 9 years for the interest to equal the principal to begin with. So if it costs you $200,000 to get your dentistry education, you know, there's $400,000 in interest right there. It's crazy, man. 8%? What is it, like a Capital One credit card? It's look, I'm in danger of getting myself into discussions I don't have the breadth for. That being said, this is what I believe. I would like lump of coal. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of the name of the item. You see it so rarely. Couldn't really come up with it. Now here, tiers are good, but we don't really need them, right? Like I think we're better off just fishing for maybe some stats. 1 bomb is good enough to kill most enemies. We don't really have to take it much deeper than that. I'm so thankful we got, wow, that very lucky. I'm so thankful. How many of these are there, man? This is like actually the mom knife piece arena. I'm so thankful we got Dr. Fetus. Like, without that, we would have been... I don't even want to know, man. I don't even want to think about it. That's a troubling thought. Don't go, don't go. Anyway, this is why we can't have these Isaac runs go on like so long, man. Start to break it down. Vegetarianism, student loans. I mean, like I said, I'm not necessarily against the concept of a loan. I'm not saying we should outlaw usury. But, you know, dude, I mean, I guess here's my question. Why the heck is tuition so expensive? I'm not trying to steal valor here, okay? I'm very open about the fact, you know, I did not grow up insanely, like, wealthy on, like, a yacht, but, you know, I was very well taken care of. My parents, you know, live very frugally, but have done well for themselves and paid for my entire education, which was also in Canada, so it's cheaper to begin with. So I'm not trying to jump in here and be like, you know, the champion of, like, me too. You know, I'm just saying, looking at it from, first off, imagine what the alternative to the base case here is. Imagine if I was like, well, you should have just gotten a degree in something good. Like, I wouldn't have a leg to stand on. My parents paid for everything. But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense to me. I guess, you know, the reason tuition is expensive is because people will still pay for it. But is that the way we should be thinking about education? Is that, like, it's driven exclusively by the market force of demand? I think we're okay with Joker for now. Like, I guess the idea is that, you know, over time, it would work itself out, you know? As too many people got university degrees and then realize, you know, the market gets flooded with people that are skilled labor. As a result, like, their wages go down. Over time, the demand would shift from going to college to, like, other areas. That sounds, like, okay. Maybe it doesn't sound good, but it sounds okay. The only problem is, like, the shift over time is, like, you know, churning up people's lives. In the meantime, I guess. That's kind of a negative. Anyway. He's like, yeah, hey, over time it'll balance itself. That's cool, but like, what about the 50,000 people that led to the balancing, man? That seems like a bummer. And by 50,000, I mean like 75 million, I guess. Just off by a factor of, 150,000. This gives us Spirit of the Night. Anyway, I apologize. We don't normally go in a direction like this, but I do think about it. It just seems like education in North America... I mean, is there anybody arguing the opposite? Is there anybody arguing that it's too cheap? I don't think so. I think that you just, you're either wired or, like, raised to believe one of two things. One is the case that I just outlined. Like, why is it so expensive? And then the other one is, like, here's the best way to operate within the system, and if you don't do that, you reap what you sow. And I'm not, that's not really where I'm at, but I can understand it for sure. Anyway, I don't know, man. I'm having a good time. This run has actually turned out quite nicely after everything we've been through. Still very risky. Like, this could lose. 6 HP is not a ton. We'll just be leaving. I guess we should be doing that more often, honestly, when we get the chance. 6 HP is not a ton. We are very likely, I would say, to just get one chest on the next floor. Or, like, our original 4 chests and nothing else. I mean, I can see why you would be confused by my statement there that said not even close to what I meant, but... Please, please. Okay, get Super High Priestess. That's not as much damage as I thought it would be. We shouldn't lose, but I'm just leaving the possibility open. I am excited, dude. It's been a good period of streaming. I streamed some Deathloop yesterday. I'm not giving my opinion really on Deathloop so far because honestly, I think it's irresponsible. My opinion on Deathloop, is informed by the fact that I streamed it for like 2 hours, but was reading chat, was trying to crack jokes, was not reading the tutorials as fully as I could. It's one of those things where, like, I'm like Principal Skinner, but inverted. Where it's like, am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. I'm like, am I out of touch? Yes, it's me who's wrong right now. All the critics seem... Oh, a mega chest! All the critics seem to love it. Most players seem to quite like it. Well, Proptosis is actually not that good with this setup, huh? Maybe it's okay. I think our damage is misleading right now. Tears down, no thank you. I think I, played it with a let's call it a characteristic degree of adult onset ADHD, where I maybe was guilty of not paying as close attention to it as I could have. Let's give me a little bit of both here. And as a result, I don't feel like I can give my opinion on it. I feel like I got to spend a little bit more time with it. But also, Rocket League yesterday, always fun to talk with Malf and Sips. Played a little WarioWare. Happy to report I ranked in the top 2% of that weekly challenge. The scores are now in. And I'm looking forward to the challenge this week. Like, that's a suck. I just love WarioWare, man. Like, I know I've probably talked about it. I've talked your ear off about it. No, thank you. That's also a suck, I think. But I think you can use WarioWare as like a Rorschach test. I look at it like Midsummer for movies, right? A lot of people love Midsummer. After I recommended, I'm not saying I was the first person to recommend it, by the way, but after I recommended it on Twitter, a lot of people over the ensuing like 2 years have messaged me or replied to the tweet and been like, no offense, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen in my life. And I use it as kind of a litmus test of not whether or not we'll get along, because the movie taste is a very small percentage of, like, I think how we would interface as human beings unless we were at the movies. Even then, we're not talking, so who cares? But, just how our tastes line up. Or even just that they can be different in some situations. Like, WarioWare is like the perfect game for me. It's like the inverse of first-person Sony, or first-party Sony games for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 so far. Rather than get inundated with cutscenes and like 17 mechanics about, yeah, you got to use your refraction shards to enhance the resonance on your sword. If you enhance the resonance at your sword at a forgotten idol, then the forgotten idol can. Oh, did I not get stats for that, or did I just leave too fast? Anyway, you get the idea of what I'm trying to get across there. What a beautiful shot. I'm not knocking that. Obviously, millions of people out there love it. But WarioWare is hitting the spot for me, because it's literally like, hey, press the A button. What I love about it, too, is you can't use the argument like, oh, wow, the small brain gamer just wants to press the A button, receive dopamine. Hey, oh, wow, entertainment consumer just wants to have the story spoon-fed to them. Why don't you try reading a book like Anna Karenina? Oh, you're reading the translated version of Anna Karenina? That's cool. I remember when I was a baby. Oh, you're not going to learn Russian so you can understand Leo Tolstoy's 19th century classic novel, Anna Karenina? Okay, sure, I guess. In the original Old English. Like, you can't use that argument because video games are... I'm not saying they're not art. I don't want to get Roger Eberted. I'm merely suggesting that, you know, if we're talking about the ease of accessibility for something, you know, your fun being gated behind the least amount of locks possible. You know, the difference between something like Ghost of Tsushima, which, from what I played, seems to be an absolutely fantastic game, for the record, and WarioWare is much less than the difference between, like, Ghost of Tsushima and, you know, War and Peace. I'm trying to say we're in this boat together, so if you insult WarioWare, you insult me. So keep his name out your mouth. Bill WarioWare, my favorite video game antagonist protagonist. Hey, thanks for watching. We made it happen, thanks to the luckiest get of all time. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya! I have no mouse pointer. See ya!